Y'all, hey, welcome back to my channel. Thanks so much for stopping by. Y'all, as always, we are headed oot and a boot. So remember last week, I was so proud of myself because we were running out on my break on a Friday. We had to go to the library. We were going the places and getting the things done. Well, turns out I went to pick up 3 books. Of the 3 books I went to pick up, I had reserved 2 books on CD instead of actual, books and books like I meant to. Y'all, books on CD. I didn't know they even still made books on CD, but I can attest to the fact that they do in fact. Well, I tried to reserve those books on books instead of books on CD, and they're like 6 months waiting periods. So I tried to be responsible and get them from the library instead of ordering everything. Didn't work out. So I went ahead and ordered them. So now I'm returning the CDs, and I didn't just, you're probably like, well, why didn't you just leave the CDs there? Just return them right then. Y'all, I thought for a minute, that maybe I could listen to the CDs, and I actually listened to one in my car. I have a CD player in my car. I had no idea. So I listened to one for a little bit while I was driving, and then I was like, there's no way. Like, my life is not built for listening to CDs. I have no CD players anywhere. I mentioned it to the intern, and he's like, well, the DVD players on the TV are CD players. I'm like, yeah, like I'm gonna sit in front of the TV and listen to a book on CD. I mean, he was trying to be helpful, but anyway. So I'm taking those back, and I'm returning the guest list, which was in my last book vlog. So I thought we could do that now and visit a little bit before we eat our lunch. So y'all, I gotta tell you what's going on. So I'm working towards my goal of 40,000 minutes of exercise on the Peloton platform. Remember, it's like any kind of, you can do yoga, Pilates, bar. I need to get back out. So I have a bar in the garage, and not like a bar, but like a workout bar. Well, I use it so much that the intern has actually been using it to dry his snowblowing clothes when he comes in from snowblowing, is how much I've been using my workout bar. So I need to get that cleaned off and start doing some bar and Pilates stuff, because y'all, I think I have aggravated my hip. It's been hurting a lot at night, not a lot, but it's been like aching at night. So I haven't been able to get a good night's sleep. So between that and staying up too late at night reading, I'm not doing well. I've been trying to do more yoga. I actually did a 10-minute hip stretch yoga like right before I got in the bed last night, and I actually slept well last night. So I'm gonna count that a success. I'm gonna do some yoga today. But that's not what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about tracking and how important tracking is to success. We've talked about tracking before, but I don't think we talked about how to actually do it. So let's talk about that. First of all, what's the big deal about tracking? Like, why do you even have to do it? Well, the idea behind tracking is that awareness leads to change. Y'all, that's so not a new idea. It can be traced back to ancient Eastern ideas that something can no longer hide if you bring it out into the light. And really, that's all you're doing when you're tracking, is bringing things out into the light, right? Positive and negative things, which will allow you to make the changes that you need to make. That's all well and good, right? We got to drag all these things out into the light, but where do you start? Like, I feel like this is one of those things that you can very easily do the analysis to paralysis game and then just not even start. Just like get so overwhelmed that you just never even take that first step. So step 1, just set a goal. Doesn't matter what it is, just pick something that you want to do, write it down, establish a goal, and then from that goal, break it into smaller steps. And y'all, I don't care what it is. I don't care what your goal is. Break it into smaller steps. Because for one thing, if you have smaller steps, oh, these roads are awful. If you break your goal into smaller steps, then those smaller steps are going to be easier to manage. And as you achieve those smaller steps, those smaller goals, you can recognize your success. And when you see your success and you recognize that you're making progress, it's going to make you want to continue to do it and continue to move forward. So set a goal, break it into smaller steps. So once you have your goal and your smaller steps laid out, start monitoring your progress. Some people say that you need to monitor progress daily, and I monitor my progress daily, but not because that's like the golden rule and it's how you should do it. I do it because that's what works for my goals. For my overall yearly goal, if I just look at that as like, I want to hit this like huge number of workout minutes in a year, and then I just like work out a bunch and just try to see where I am, every month or something, I will get completely lost and overwhelmed, and either I will work out a whole lot and hurt myself, or I'll be like, I'm never going to do that, and I just won't get anything done. So what works for me is to break this annual goal into monthly goals, and then weekly goals, and then daily goals. And my daily goals change based on what my day looks like, but I have those goals set for every day, and then I don't necessarily like write them down and track them every day, but I know what I want to achieve every day. So then I track them and keep up with them at least every few days so that I can see what I've done. And y'all, what that really does for me is it keeps me from beating myself up, which I will tend to do if I can't quantify my progress. Like I mentioned before, I don't eat clean. I try to eat well, but I don't eat clean. So if I eat something that's sort of outside of my normal eating routine, and I don't know how many points it is, I'll go and find those points so that I don't build it up in my head to this humongous thing that's like completely knocked me off of my goal. Because not many things will really do that, but in my head I can build it up to something gigantic, when if I just quantify it, it's something totally manageable. I hope that made sense. I know that was like a huge ramble, but for me, goal tracking and progress tracking allows me to quantify where I am and what I've done so that I can recognize my progress, and so that I don't sort of blow mistakes out of proportion. So another thing, aside from daily progress tracking, is have a plan for maybe weekly or monthly progress tracking. Okay, so we're tracking regularly, right? Daily or every couple of days or something. So that's data collection. Well, once we've collected a bunch of data, it's important to go back and look at that data, see how we're progressing on our goals, see what's working for us for our goal progress, and see what's not working, and make some changes. Because if you're not using that data at all, y'all, what's the point of collecting it? So make time to go back and look at that goal tracking data often and see how you're doing. And along with that, y'all, the next point, have a reward system. Y'all know how I love me a token economy. I will work to the point of exhaustion for a little electronic token in my Apple Watch or on the Peloton bike that nobody but me will see. But y'all, I see it, and I know it's there, and I know that I've earned it, and that's all that I need. Or those ridiculous blingy medals that I get for doing virtual challenges. Y'all, I've actually bought t-shirts to go along with those virtual challenges. Nobody has any idea what they're about. Nobody sees them, and it doesn't matter, because they're for me. They're my rewards for the workouts that I'm doing. So set yourself a reward system that matters for you. And remember that it's okay to move the goalposts. If you set a goal that turns out not to be realistic, change your goal. Or if it turns out that the goal that you set is too far away, set some intermittent goals. You don't have to swing for the fences every time. You can work your way up to that. Y'all, these are your goals. Make them personal and make them work for you. Now, if you set a goal that's too easy and you achieve it right away, that's okay too. Check that off and set yourself a new goal. It's okay to move the goalpost. Y'all, I feel like I'm getting a little preachy. I had a whole list of things I wanted to talk about, but I'm going to cut it short and just hit a few more high points, and then I'm going to get out of here because it's cold. I want to get home, eat some soup, and get back to work. So let me just hit a couple of more points, and then I'm going to take off. We talk about this so often, y'all. It is so important to plan how you're going to achieve your goal. Don't just say, oh, I'm going to lose weight, or oh, I'm going to start working out, or oh, I'm going for this one. Oh, I'm going to run a 5K. I certainly don't mean I'm going for this one like I'm going to do it, but you know that for some reason running is always my example, even though I don't do it. Don't just say, oh, I'm going to do that. Make a plan for the time that you're going to do it. Goals need to be time bound. And that's not to say that if you don't achieve that goal in that period of time that you should just abandon it and move on, but at least have in your head an idea of the time period in which you're going to start your goal, when you're going to achieve it, and how you're going to do that. And along those same lines, know how you're going to track your goal. I, of course, use multiple trackers. I use my Apple Watch. I use the Weight Watchers app. I use the Peloton app. I have a journal, like my actual bullet journal that I use. And I use these things in conjunction with each other. I pay the most attention to the Peloton app tracking, but I do use the others. I realized 4 tracking devices is a little bit over the top, but just know how you're going to track your progress. And y'all, finally, keep your eye on the prize. Keep your final overall goal in mind and acknowledge that it's okay if some of those sub goals and some of those steps change along the way. And if your time frame for that goal changes, that's okay too. The goal is to achieve that goal, not necessarily to achieve it in a certain amount of time. All right, y'all, let me step down off this soapbox. Like I said, I feel like I'm being preachy. I hope I don't sound preachy. I don't mean to be preachy at all or to act like I'm the expert on this. This is just how I think about tracking and how I track my goals. So if y'all have any suggestions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. Or if you have any questions about how I track, what I track, or why I track it the way that I do, please feel free to ask. I'm gonna get out of here. I'm sitting here in a freezing cold parking lot watching this guy move snow. But I need to get moving because, like I said, I want to stretch out some. My hips are hurting. So I need to do that. I need to eat lunch. And I forgot, y'all, I completely forgot that I told the intern I was going to make some banana bread. So I have a recipe for a Weight Watchers friendly banana bread. So I'm going to make that and see if he notices the difference. Remember I told y'all I made meatballs one time using ground turkey instead of ground beef? And he is completely scarred now and will not eat ground turkey in anything. So this might not be a good idea, but I'm going to try and just see if he notices the difference between regular banana bread and Weight Watchers banana bread. But I want to get all this done and get the banana bread in the oven before I go back to work. So I need to get going, and I will check in with y'all when I get back to the house. All right, y'all, I did my stretchy workout. I decided to do a quick ride on the bike to loosen up my hips too. So now I'm all disheveled and a mess. So I got to get myself together and get back to work. But first, I want to get this stuff mixed up and get the banana bread in the oven. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to mash up 3 bananas. I'm going to add all of my wet ingredients together. Then I'm going to mix my dry ingredients and just throw them in together. Throw them in a pan. No, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make banana bread muffins instead of a banana bread because that'll cook faster, right? So, okay, that's what we're doing. Still mashing bananas, mix up wet ingredients, mix up dry ingredients, mix it all up together. But instead of making it in a bread pan, I'm going to make it in muffin tins. So here's what we're doing. I'm going to mash up 3 bananas. I'm going to add 1/3 cup unsweet applesauce, about 1/4 cup of plain unsweet Greek yogurt, 1/2 cup of some kind of milk. You can use skim milk. I'm going to use almond milk because that's what I have. I wish I had coconut milk. I would use unsweet coconut milk if I had it, but I don't. So I'm going to use unsweetened almond milk. I'm going to throw in 2 eggs and a teaspoon of vanilla extract. And then for my dry ingredients, I'm going to mix up a teaspoon of baking soda, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, and 1 3/4 cups of all-purpose flour, So I'm going to mix up wet ingredients, mix up dry ingredients, mix them up together, and then portion them off into muffin tins and bake them at 350. And I think the bread called for like an hour of baking. So I'm going to do 350. I'm going to start at, I don't know, 15 minutes or so, and then just check it regularly until they're done. So I'll report back at the end, let y'all see what we come up with. Might work, might not. Might explode in my oven. I don't know. But when it's done, I'll let y'all see what we get. Of course, we'll taste test it, and I'll let you know how long it takes the muffins to cook. We have muffins, y'all. It looks like they came out pretty good. I baked them for about 35 minutes at 350 degrees before I forget to tell y'all that. Oh, and I forgot to tell you my sweetener. I put in half a cup of sugar-free maple syrup. The recipe, the way that I made it, is 1 point per muffin if you make 18 muffins. You can use half a cup of honey instead of half a cup of sugar-free maple syrup if you want to use that for your sweetener. And then that's about 3 or 4 points per muffin if you want that honey taste instead of the unsweet maple syrup. So y'all, let's bust these open and ooh, looky there. Looks good. It's hot. I'm going to hurt myself trying this, but let's give it a taste and see what we got. They're very moist. They're spongy. I actually used 4 bananas instead of 3 just because that's what I had rotting on my counter. So that might be kind of why they're a little extra sticky. Very moist. I would say they are very good for 1 point or 3 points. Either way you make the recipe, I would say they're very tasty, and this would be a great addition to your breakfast or for like an afternoon snack or something. Y'all, thank you so much for coming to my channel. If you haven't already done so, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. I upload food and fitness videos on Monday with some book videos sprinkled in between. See you on the next one.